Imagine waking up one morning and the sun is hotter than it's ever felt before, and not just warm, but harsh, almost aggressive. You see the news, another wildfire, another earthquake, another flash flood sweeping away everything in its path. People rush to find answers. Some say it's just climate change. Others blame politics, science, or fate. But deep within, there's a question rising like smoke from an unseen fire. Could this be more than natural? Could this be the voice of something higher trying to get our attention? You see, the natural world isn't random. It was created with intelligence, rhythm, and divine order. Trees don't grow without a plan. Oceans don't rise without boundaries. Winds don't shift without command. Every drop of rain, every lightning strike, every wave that crashes against the shore is responding to the breath of God. And when that breath turns heavy, when the winds begin to roar instead of whisper, it means something is stirring in the heavens. Let's go back to our daily life. Have you ever had a day where you feel like the world is too loud? The skies look strange, the clouds gather with weight, and there's a strange stillness in the air before a storm breaks loose. That's not just weather. That's the Creator pressing pause on routine and play on a divine message. When natural events become unnatural in frequency and force, it's because creation is trying to say what many refuse to hear. The time is near. It's like when your house starts creaking in the night, louder than usual, more frequent. You start checking the foundation, the walls, the roof. You realize something's off. That's how God speaks through the earth. The more intense the shaking, the closer the shift. And these aren't just warnings to the world, they're invitations to the soul. Nature isn't angry, it's obedient. When God says speak, nature speaks. When He says warn, it warns. The storms aren't just wind and rain. They're a trumpet in the sky. They are God's way of awakening those who've been lulled to sleep by comfort, distractions, and routine. The signs in nature aren't punishments, they're grace. They're the mercy of a God who loves us enough to shout when whispers are ignored. Think of how we live every day. We build, plan, invest, travel, hustle, chase goals, get caught in cycles of stress and busyness. But when a major storm hits, when your city floods or the power goes out for days, what's the first thing you realize? That none of those things matter more than breath, safety, family, and faith. God uses natural disruption to remind us of eternal priorities. Maybe you've seen it already, when people becoming more aware, more anxious, more spiritually alert after disasters. Suddenly prayers rise, questions are asked, purpose becomes a priority. That's not coincidence. That's how God uses natural signs to shake us back into focus. Now think about this. In daily life, if your phone buzzes with emergency alerts, you don't ignore it. You check it. You respond. But what about when God sends an alert through the thunder? What about when He sends a signal through a record-breaking heat wave or a storm that interrupts your plans? These are not accidents. These are warnings filled with wisdom. They're signals to stop, reflect, and recenter on the one who holds it all together. When floods come and fires rage, people often ask, where is God in all this? But maybe the better question is, what is God trying to tell me through this? Because sometimes God has to disrupt your world to realign your soul. He shakes the earth not to scare us, but to spare us from a deeper loss. The loss of awareness, the loss of eternity, the loss of connection with Him. There's beauty even in the chaos. A storm clears the air. A wildfire, though destructive, often leads to new growth. Earthquakes shift the ground so new foundations can be laid. That's how God works. He doesn't just destroy, He transforms. He doesn't just shake, He builds. But He will not be silent when the hour is near, and He will not let those He loves remain unprepared. You may be walking through a season where everything feels out of balance. Maybe the weather is strange, your peace is disturbed, or life is shaking around you. Instead of fearing it, ask, what is God waking me up to? Because sometimes the signs outside are connected to the movement inside your heart. So next time you hear thunder, don't just listen for rain. Listen for His voice. Next time the earth trembles, don't just worry about buildings. Ask if your soul is ready. Because before the rapture, before the great moment of transformation, God always speaks through creation. And those who are truly listening will hear His warning, wrapped in wind, rain, and fire, and know exactly what time it is. Every day we hear voices from from our phones, televisions, conversations at work, even from within our own thoughts. These voices are always talking, telling us who we should be, what we should want, where we should go, and how we should live. They tell us what's true and what's false. But have you ever noticed how confusing those voices have become? One moment the world says, be yourself, and the next it says, you're not enough unless you change. One day a solution is praised, the next day it's condemned. What we're witnessing isn't just noise, it's deception on a global scale. It's a spiritual fog rolling across the minds of millions, and many don't even realize it. In this modern world, deception doesn't always come with red flags. It often wears a smile, it speaks smoothly, it sounds intelligent, it appears helpful, and yet it leads people away from truth, and step by step, quietly and convincingly. It doesn't just attack truth, it imitates it. It pretends to be light, but it's real. A darkness in disguise. This is exactly what happens before the rapture. The flood of false voices rises. They speak louder, flash brighter, and pull hearts in every direction except toward the voice of God. Think about how this happens in daily life. Imagine scrolling through your feed. One person says success is about money. Another says it's about freedom. Someone else claims it's about inner peace. You get influenced even if you don't realize it. Ads, influencers, celebrities are all claiming to show the way, yet most of them lead to emptiness because they promise light but leave you in shadows. You chase after their version of peace but end up feeling more anxious than ever. That's the danger of deception. It makes lies feel like comfort. Even in leadership, in education, in culture, the confusion spreads. People are looking to politicians to be saviors, to science to be gods, to trends to be moral compasses. But the more we look to man, the more we lose sight of the one who never changes. The problem isn't that people don't want truth. It's that they're being fed a version of truth that's been distorted, repackaged, and sold like a product. And slowly, hearts grow numb, minds get tired, and the real truth, the voice of God, becomes just a whisper in the background until it disappears altogether from their awareness. This is why discernment is so critical in these final days. Not everything that looks good is from God. Not everything that feels right is truth. Before the rapture, this deception will intensify, not to trap those who are awake, but to expose who has truly been listening to the right voice. God doesn't shout like the world does. He speaks in stillness, in peace, in clarity. But to hear Him, we must silence the noise and tune in with our spirit, because His truth doesn't change, His light doesn't flicker, and His voice doesn't deceive. Have you ever walked into a room with multiple radios playing different stations, each one blaring its own rhythm, its own message? That's how the world sounds today. But in that mess, imagine one small radio quietly playing a calm, steady song, the song of God's voice. Most people will ignore it because it's not the loudest. But the wise will move closer, lean in, and listen. Because truth doesn't scream. It invites, it beckons, it leads. And just before the rapture, God is inviting you to tune your soul to His frequency, not the world's. Even in your personal life, you've likely faced moments where someone's words led you down the wrong path. Maybe you trusted someone who seemed right but wasn't. Maybe you followed advice that felt good but ended badly. That's how deception works. It disguises itself in trust, in familiarity, in beauty. That's why God's Word is eternal truth. It must be our foundation. Because when everything else changes, twists, or fades, His truth stays rooted. And only those rooted in truth will remain standing when the shaking begins. And understand this, deception doesn't always attack with force. It seduces, it flatters. It makes you feel good for doing wrong. It convinces you that conviction is hate and compromise is love. It twists good into evil and calls evil progress. That's why so many are lost and don't even know it. They've been following a false light, and by the time they realize it, it's already too dark to find their way back. But those who cling to the light of God, those who listen to His voice daily, they will never walk in darkness. So ask yourself today, what voice are you following? Are you chasing popularity over purpose? Are you listening to culture more than the Creator? Are you choosing comfort over conviction? Because the more we fill our ears with the world, the harder it becomes to recognize the voice of God. And right before the rapture, this confusion will reach its peak. But even in the middle of the storm of deception, His voice will still be calling. And those who have trained their hearts to listen, those who have chosen truth over trends, they will rise while others remain lost in the noise. The truth is this: deception is not just coming, it's already here. But so is God's voice, so is His light, so is His guidance. The question is, are we listening? Look around you. Every day you see the world growing more divided, not just in opinions or politics, but in spirit. You feel it in conversations with friends who used to agree with you but now seem to live in a completely different reality. You see it on social media, where love and hate are separated by a single comment. You feel it in your family, your workplace, and even in your own heart. The tension between what's right and what's easy, what's true and what's popular. This is more than cultural change. It's a spiritual shift. It's the separation of good and evil happening in real time. Not because God wants to divide us, but because truth can no longer live in compromise. Before the rapture, this division becomes undeniable. Think about your own life. Maybe you've had moments where you stood for something good, honesty, faith, integrity, and someone made you feel wrong for it. Maybe you tried to speak truth, but you were mocked or silenced. That's not just human resistance, that's spiritual resistance. Because when God begins to separate light from darkness, those still walking in the dark will always react to the light. They'll resist it, avoid it, or try to shut it down. Not because it's wrong, but because it reveals too much. That's what we're seeing more and more today. A world uncomfortable with what is pure, what is holy, what is honest. It's not just about morals anymore, it's about spirit. People aren't simply choosing bad action, they're choosing darkness in their thinking and their values and how they treat others. The world is celebrating what once brought shame and silencing what once brought healing. Right is becoming wrong, and wrong is being celebrated as freedom. In your everyday life, think of the moments when you've sat in silence, maybe late at night when the noise of the world has faded. You begin reflecting. Your mind replays conversations, decisions, memories. You think about who you've become. In those quiet times, you often feel something rise within. A sense that life is more than routines, more than titles and achievements. That's not just your thoughts wandering. That's your spirit responding to God's invitation. He's not waiting for a performance. He's waiting for your honesty. God's call to prepare isn't loud or flashy. It's often quiet, but it pierces deeper than anything else. It shows up when you feel dissatisfied, even in your success. It visits you when the smile fades the moment you're alone. It reminds you that all the things you chase will never fill the eternal space inside you. That space was designed for Him. And no amount of success, relationships, or distractions can fill what only the Creator Himself can satisfy. You may have felt this tug in unexpected moments, watching a sunrise, hearing a song, reading a quote that touched your soul. Maybe it was during heartbreak, failure, or a time when you felt completely lost. That's when God speaks the loudest, not to shame you, but to invite you back. He doesn't demand perfection. He desires connection. And before the rapture, He will give each soul a chance to respond. That's what preparation truly is. Not external rituals, but internal realignment. This preparation is deeply personal. For one person, it may mean letting go of pride. For another, it could be releasing a habit that has quietly poisoned their peace. For someone else, it might be stepping into purpose after years of running from it. God doesn't call everyone the same way, but He calls everyone with the same love. And His voice always leads to life. He calls you not just to save you from judgment, but to awaken you to the fullness of who He created you to be. In your daily life, preparation looks like choosing honesty over deception, even when lying is easier. It looks like forgiving someone who never apologized because your soul needs peace more than your ego needs revenge. It looks like shutting off distractions and spending quiet moments in reflection, prayer, or gratitude. These things may seem small, but they are powerful. Because every time you respond to God's call, even in the smallest way, you're building something eternal inside of you. And here's the beautiful truth. God meets you in the middle of your effort. You don't have to climb a mountain of holiness to reach Him. You just have to take the first step. That step might be repentance. It might be surrender. It might be asking, God, what do you want me to let go of? Or what do you want me to pick up? These questions are the beginning of preparation, and they open the door to transformation. You might be thinking, I have too many flaws, or I've drifted too far. But let me tell you, those are the very reasons God is calling you now. He doesn't wait until you have it all together. He comes into the middle of your mess, your doubts, your chaos, and says, I want you. Not the version of you others expect, not the filtered you that social media sees, the real you, because only the real you can have a real relationship with a real God. This call to prepare is not just for the end times, it's for the here and now. It's so you can live free, so you can walk in clarity, so you can carry peace in a chaotic world, so you can be ready when that final trumpet sounds, not afraid but confident, not hiding but rising. And that confidence doesn't come from being perfect. It comes from being aligned with the one who is. Each day that passes is a gift, another opportunity to say yes to what Hat matters most. We prepare not out of fear but out of love. Because when you know someone amazing is coming, you get your house in order. You clean up, not because someone forced you to, but because you're excited to meet them. That's how it should be with God. Preparation is not punishment, it's anticipation, it's love in action. So today, if you feel that whisper in your heart, don't ignore it. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't let fear or shame keep you distant. Turn toward it, respond. Ask the hard questions. Let go of what holds you back. God isn't just calling people collectively, He's calling you personally. And those who respond now will walk in a peace the world can't take away, a peace that will carry them into the final moment with heads lifted, hearts full, and spirits ready. Have you ever noticed how fast time seems to be moving lately? Days blur into nights. Weeks pass in what feels like hours, and before you know it, another month has disappeared. You blink and entire seasons change. One moment it's January and the next it's July. This isn't just a feeling, it's a reality that many people across the world are noticing. It's like life is on fast forward and no one can find the pause button. What used to feel slow and predictable now moves at a speed that leaves people breathless. But this acceleration of time isn't just a side effect of modern living. It's a sign, a divine sign that the timeline of humanity is speeding toward a sacred moment. Before the rapture, time will quicken, and only those who are spiritually awake will recognize what that means. In daily life, we constantly chase time. From the moment we wake up, it's a race, getting ready, going to work, finishing tasks, checking notifications, managing responsibilities. We try to manage every minute, yet somehow never have enough. Even with technology and smart devices designed to save time, we still feel like we're falling behind. Why? Because time isn't just about hours and minutes, it's spiritual. And when God begins to move in the final stages of His plan, He allows the flow of time to shift, not to create chaos, but to call our attention. Think about how often you've said, I can't believe how fast this year went, or where did the time go? That's not just age or busyness speaking, that's your spirit sensing a deeper reality. We are not just living in a season of speed, we're living in a countdown, a divine countdown that doesn't operate by human calendars, but by heaven's clock. And when that clock begins to wind down, life as we know it starts to feel compressed. Events happen quicker. Changes come suddenly. The pace of life shifts from normal to urgent. This urgency is not meant to panic you. It's meant to prepare you. It's meant to sharpen your focus and awaken your heart. Because what you do with your time now matters more than ever before. Every decision, every moment, every conversation is being weighed differently. God is not measuring success by how busy you are, but by how ready you are. And readiness isn't about doing more. It's about being aligned with His purpose, His presence, His pace. In everyday life, this may look like choosing to be still in the middle of noise. It might mean saying no to endless distractions and yes to deeper reflection. It may mean waking up earlier to pray or taking 5 minutes before bed to speak with God. These small shifts are not just good habits, so they are acts of spiritual awareness. They are how you slow down your soul in a world that's racing toward eternity. The acceleration of time is also visible in how fast the world is changing. Think about it. Technologies that once took decades to develop are now outdated within a year. Moral values are shifting not over generations, but in a matter of months. Trends rise and fall before you even have time to understand them. News spreads instantly, and attention spans have shrunk to seconds. All of this is part of the same pattern. Time speeding up, events multiplying, and the world being positioned for something bigger than itself. And in the middle of all this, God is calling us to live differently, not in panic, not in fear, but in purpose. To live every day with the awareness that time is not endless, that moments matter, that what you do today echoes into eternity. God is not asking you to race with the world. He's asking you to walk with Him as steadily, purposefully, and intentionally. Maybe you've felt that inner urgency, the sense that you need to make changes, that you can't delay that decision any longer, that you need to heal that relationship, forgive that person, start that calling. That's not anxiety, that's the Spirit prompting you to act now. Because when time accelerates, so does God's call. And those who delay out of fear or comfort may find that the window of grace is shorter than they expected. It's just like missing a train. You stand on the platform, distracted by your phone or lost in thought, and before you realize it, the train is gone. You were close, you were there, but you weren't ready. That's how time is moving now. And God in His mercy is reminding us that the train is approaching. The signs are all around, and only the prepared will move when the moment comes. So what should you do? Use your time wisely. Reprioritize your life. Don't waste another hour on things that don't feed your soul. Don't let distractions steal your peace. Don't wait until everything falls apart to realize what truly matters. The acceleration of time is a divine invitation to align your life now, to seek God now, to forgive now, to love deeply now, to step into your purpose now. Because when that final moment arrives, it will come quickly, like lightning across the sky, like a door that suddenly closes. And only those who have lived with awareness, with readiness, will rise with confidence. The rest will look back and say, where did the time go? But for you, if you listen, if you respond, if you align, you'll know exactly where the time went. It led you home. There is something stirring in the unseen realm, something powerful, something divine. And even though most people can't explain it, many are beginning to feel it, a rising sense of urgency, a pull on the heart, a nudge in the soul that says, pay attention, something greater is happening. This is not imagination, it's not emotion. It's the beginning of an outpouring, a supernatural awakening that is moving across the world, not in headlines or grand stages, but in ordinary hearts. Before the rapture, God will pour out His presence like never before, not in a theatrical display, but in real, raw, personal encounters. And those who are open will experience a closeness with God that changes everything. You don't have to be a preacher, a scholar, or even someone who has lived a perfect life. God isn't choosing based on titles or resumes. He's choosing based on hunger. Those who are hungry for truth, thirsty for something deeper, ready to stop pretending and start living with eternal purpose. Those are the people who will feel the fire of this outpouring. And it won't come through rituals. It will come through relationship. Maybe you've already felt glimpses of it. There are moments where you sensed something greater in the silence, where tears came for no reason, where peace settled over your heart in a way you couldn't explain. That was God. That was His presence brushing up against your spirit, waking you up, calling you closer. And the beautiful part is, He's not done. He's just getting started. In your daily life, this may come in moments that seem ordinary. You're washing dishes and suddenly a thought hits you so powerfully that you pause and your heart begins to beat differently. You're driving alone and a wave of emotion sweeps over you, reminding you that you're not truly alone. You wake up from a dream and feel like it was more than just sleep. It was a message. These are not coincidences. These are encounters, divine touch points, little glimpses of the eternal breaking into the present. God is not waiting for a perfect environment to show up. He is pouring His Spirit into bedrooms, into office spaces, into hospital rooms, into quiet corners where people are seeking Him with honesty. He is visiting people in unexpected ways, through dreams, through sudden peace, through impressions that won't let go. And those who pause long enough to listen will realize something is different, something is happening, and they are part of it. You see, before the rapture, God always moves with mercy. He doesn't just take, He prepares. He doesn't just arrive, He reveals. He gives people a chance to wake up, to respond, to align. And this outpouring is His way of reaching hearts that have grown numb, tired, or distracted. It's His way of reigniting faith that has flickered and almost died. It's His way of saying, I'm still here, come back, come close. This supernatural movement isn't about emotional hype, it's about real transformation. When God pours out His presence, things shift, not just around you, but inside of you. Your priorities change. Your desires begin to purify. Things that used to tempt you lose their power. Things that used to bore you, like prayer or stillness, suddenly feel like lifelines. You begin to crave silence, not because you're tired, but because you want to hear that still small voice again. In your relationships, this outpouring will begin to show. You'll speak with more love. You'll listen with more patience. You'll see people not just as bodies and opinions, but as souls, valuable, eternal, deeply loved by the same God who is drawing you. And when others notice the change in you, they may ask, what's different? That's when you can say with humble boldness, I've encountered something real, and I can't go back to who I was. This outpouring is also a reminder that time is short, that the things we've treated as normal will not remain, that eternity is not a distant idea, it's near. And God is preparing His people not with fear but with fire. He's lighting up hearts. He's awakening dreams. He's restoring vision to those who have lost hope. He's stirring people in the night. And the ones who say yes, even if they feel unqualified or broken, those are the ones who will carry His presence into the darkest corners of this world. You don't need to understand everything to receive this outpouring. You just need to open your heart. You just need to be willing to pause, willing to listen, willing to be changed. Because when God pours out His Spirit, He doesn't come to entertain. He comes to transform. He comes to lift the heavy, heal the wounded, strengthen the weak, and set souls on fire with a purpose that cannot be quenched. So if you feel the stirring, don't ignore it. If you feel the tears, let them fall. If you feel the invitation, respond. These are holy moments, and they are happening now, not just in places of worship, but in places of surrender. And if you open your heart, you won't just read about revival, you will become part of it. A vessel for His glory, a light in the darkness, a witness to the greatest move of God before the world is changed forever.